No, we don't care about the AP poll. We care even less about the coaches poll.
There's
Which is
only
our
one
own
poll
poll.
I care about.
It's this one. Let's go.
There's only one poll I stroke.
uh,
It's this one. Maryland. Mary had a fairy named Maryland.
Larryland. Homer Simpson.
Oklahoma, where the wind
wind
comes
comes
rolling
rolling
down the
down the
plain.
plain.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Updog Sports Talk. I am Matt Miller. Joining me today is Chad Bunt and
That's
Justin McGovern, and we
That's
are
him.
going over our Week 6 Updog Sports Talk College Football Top 25. No, we don't care about the AP poll. We care even less about the coaches poll.
There's
Which is
only
our
one
own
poll
poll.
I care about.
It's this one. Let's go.
There's only one poll I stroke.
Yeah,
It's this one.
and obviously we waited a month into the year to do our poll because we wanted to actually learn about the teams a little bit before we dove in. So okay, let's go ahead and get started here. We're starting from 25. Number 25, the Louisville Cardinals. Matt?
Well,
Louisville.
the Louisville Cardinals. They're undefeated, but they have not proven themselves in years past. They have been competing with teams that you wouldn't expect them competing with in recruiting the past few years with Scott Satterfield there. Some of those recruits committed. They have a decent base, but I mean, I really don't think they're going to get above the top 20. I actually had them at 25, so.
Same.
Well, you guys ranked them. I did not. Honestly, they're a little bit of a fraudulent 5-0. They got close wins over Indiana, NC State, and Georgia Tech, which isn't great. Obviously, things could change. If they could prove themselves this weekend, but right now, I think they're kind of a fraudulent 5-0. They are entertaining, though.
Justin, you ignorant slut.
Hey, we disagree on a few things here, especially at the bottom of this poll. Number 24, Kansas State. I'll take the lead on this because I'm the only one that thinks they're worthy of being ranked.
I'm
But
just
yeah,
gonna put it in there anyways.
they have a good quarterback in Will Howard. I'm impressed with their wins over Troy and UCF. They took care of both of them pretty handily and lost by a 61-yard field goal to Missouri. Now, you guys can tell me why you disagree, but I think they're a pretty good team.
The placement of Kansas State stinks. You've got Tom over here, not chasing Jerry, but just in his Kansas State gear. I don't think they should be in the top 25. I mean, they were overrated to begin with when they were ranked at the beginning of the season. Yes, they won the Big 12, but whoop-de freaking do. Texas and Oklahoma are running away with it right now. Yeah, they lost by a 61-yard field goal to Missouri, but do you really think Missouri is going to end up ranked at the end of the season? Not me.
They one loss or two loss?
One loss.
One loss.
They really haven't played anyone.
Yeah, exactly. I got to draw some concern to this mascot here, guys. His arms and legs are twisted in ways that I don't think are natural.
You are right about that. Like, look at him.
He's all twisted out. Like
Jerry went and snapped Tom's neck.
Is
he says a lot about their football team.
Like standing? That's why I don't get either. Like, if he's walking, that's a very weird way to walk. But that's what happens when you got cartoons.
Maybe he had a couple drinks. It looks like to me.
Oh my. Moving on to our next team here, the Fresno State Bulldogs. This has been a pretty impressive team so far. They've handled business. They have two decent wins. One of them was on the road at Arizona State where they just did terrible things that probably shouldn't have been on live television to Arizona State. But yeah, what do you guys think?
I think they're right where they need to be at 23. They is it them and Air Force are the undefeated teams in
in the
Mountain
Mountain
West.
West. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they deserve to be in the rankings. Are they ranked in the AP?
Yeah, they are. They
Okay.
actually managed to be ranked in both polls, which is
That's
surprising.
surprising. Yeah. I like Fresno State here.
Oh man, this
Yeah,
Middle Tennessee guy just got a one-handed pick. Sorry, I'm watching a game while doing this.
I think Fresno's a good team. I think it's a situation where they really haven't played anybody for us to be able to be like, oh, they're a great team, you know.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, they'll more tests throughout the year, but right now they are the lead contender to make a New Year's Six bowl out of those teams that aren't in the Power Conference. But that could change in a hurry. They play at Wyoming this weekend on Fox. Weird things can happen to Laramie, Wyoming. Next up,
Man, where are you finding these mascots, these logos?
I'll tell you what. So it's a site called sportslogos.net. And they have like all the logos each team has ever had. And there's some old ones on here that are pretty entertaining. Like Matt and I have always had this inside joke where we go, Duke.
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 He just looks like he's from Transylvania.
That's what this mascot looks like he's saying.
Yeah, he looks like he's from Transylvania. I don't know how else to put it, but getting back to the topic at hand, I wanted to rank Duke higher, but they did lose to Notre Dame. They did have Clemson on their resume, but then Clemson lost to Florida State, so it became a little less impressive. But Duke is balling out right now. If they can just fix some kinks in the offense, I think they're going to start climbing this pole.
I think a problem is Riley Leonard got hurt. I don't know how significant his injury was after the Notre Dame game, but I like Duke. I think they're a pretty solid team. They put up a really good fight against a good Notre Dame team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go up in the rankings a little bit as the season goes on. But I don't really see them getting into the mix too much more than this.
Yeah,
no, probably not 10.
They were looking pretty amazing there for a moment with about a minute left even, and then probably endured one of the most heartbreaking minutes I've seen in college football, getting absolutely destroyed in the last minute of the game by Notre Dame, and then potentially losing their quarterback for several weeks on top of it. They've been great so far, definitely deserving of the ranking, but their season is on the line right now. Things could fall apart in a hurry. Moving on here, the Maryland Terrapins.
Maryland. Mary had a fairy named Maryland.
I'm pretty sure you guys ranked them just so that you could do that.
They're undefeated. What are you talking about?
Tua's brother is balling out right now, and they got a big matchup.
Killing it.
Yeah, big matchup this weekend against Ohio State. I think they're gonna get crushed, but they do play Ohio State well, so it'll be fun to watch.
Don't want to jinx myself because obviously I'm an Ohio State fan, but I think it's going to be a closer game than a blowout. I think Maryland's a really, really good team. I think they're underrated big time right now.
They're still fourth best in the
Big Ten. Yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
I really think that they could go up in the rankings. And obviously, I do think Ohio State is a better team and could beat them, but
and Marvin Harrison seems like he's perfectly fine now. So from that ankle injury, so he's gonna destroy him single-handedly.
Maryland,
someone
guys.
Probably will.
September, Maryland. Don't fall for September, Maryland. That being said, outside of the games against the Big Three in the Big Ten East, their schedule is quite favorable. They got an amazing draw for themselves out of the Big Ten West teams. I think they play Northwestern, Nebraska, and Purdue. So
nice.
They are on track for fourth for the Big Ten, I think, even if that's also fourth for the Big Ten East. Next up, the Missouri Tigers. Believe it or not,
he's thick.
Believe it or not, this is actually a historical logo they had. I could not believe that. Look at that. Look at the realness of that tiger.
That's like a live action remake of Missouri Tigers.
Joe Exotic's coming for us now.
Tell you what, man. Bring
He's
that
gonna
one
pen
back.
us a letter asking for money from us to get him out of jail.
Sorry, Joe. I don't have anything.
There's not much to say about Missouri. I mean, I said it earlier, they're gonna probably drop out of the rankings with the rest of their schedule, but
Yeah.
winning on a 61-yard field goal is pretty impressive against a team
And
that Justin was the only one to rank.
hey,
Yeah.
I actually think Missouri could be in for a decent year. There's room for them to climb in the SEC because the SEC is nowhere near as good as it usually is. And the East is wide open behind Georgia. Tennessee is not good right now. Florida is obviously pretty bad. I mean, could we be looking at Missouri or Kentucky for second in the SEC East? Who knows?
It's weird that Missouri is in the East. I feel like that's
I
bad
know, right?
placement.
It's good thing they're getting rid of divisions finally because they
Yeah.
make no sense at all.
No.
Next on our list, the Ole Miss Rebels. They lost to Alabama and Lane Kiffin's big chance against them. They weren't even close in that game, but they did beat LSU.
That's not. I mean, beating LSU is fairly easy when it comes to Brian Kelly in big games.
Yeah, everybody
Um,
does it.
Yeah. But Lane Kiffin's face throughout portions of that game was as red as that guy's suit.
That's
but
pretty
I mean,
normal too. The man tans a lot.
I do like Ole Miss, but it all comes down to what Jackson Dart can do. And I think he's going to be able to raise him up a little bit, but I don't see them getting really past 15 in the rankings.
Yeah, I
Not unless they
agree.
go on some incredible run.
Yeah, I didn't think they were that great, and then I mean they did turn around and beat LSU, so there wasn't really a way to not rank them. But their defense is still a little bit questionable. The offense kind of goes to sleep at times. I'll tell you what, though, you are right though. That game had some awesome coach shots of both Lane Kiffin and Brian Kelly throughout that thing. But yeah. I mean, they'll be okay, but I don't know if they're going to be. They're obviously already out of contention for the SEC West because they lost to Alabama, but they're there.
I really like Jackson Dart. I think he's a good quarterback.
I think there's a lot of potential that he has, and he looks better this year than he did last year. Next up, the Utah Utes.
I like Utah, but they had a couple of unfortunate games. What are they? One loss to USC.
One loss to Oregon State.
Oregon State. I mean, I think they're gonna take a couple losses this year, but I mean, Utah. We discussed it in one of our last videos. They contend. They're a contender in the Pac-12, but they're going to be a little bit behind USC and Oregon State at this point.
I think the big thing they need Cam Rising to come back because he definitely is the person that makes this offense move.
Has he been cleared for this weekend?
No one knows. It feels like it's always been close to him playing, and then he hasn't. They're actually on a bye week this week, so maybe after the bye he'll come back because, I mean, like against UCLA, they got a pick six early, and then pretty much like played 4-minute offense the entire game to win that one afterwards because their defense was so dominant they were able to just sit on the ball and do that. And then
I mean, sometimes that's all you need.
Against Oregon State, it all went wrong. They need Cam Rising back so bad.
Yeah, you can't lose to Oregon State. I know Oregon State's not a bad team, but can't lose to them. I don't know if I know I was high on Colorado before they started losing, but I don't know if they get through Colorado still.
Yeah,
once Travis Hunter comes back, Colorado will be a different team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
there's other players that are playing really well, like Jim Horn Jr. and Xavier. What's his name? Xavier
Weaver.
Yeah,
and then now Omarion Miller emerging out of nowhere against USC is going to be a good thing. But we're not here to talk about Colorado as much as I wish we had them ranked. Next up, the Miami Hurricanes.
Frauds. The frauds of the ACC. I mean, they're undefeated, but they really haven't impressed me. I think they're going to stick somewhere between 12 and 22, somewhere in that range.
Yeah,
if they stay ranked.
They looked good over Texas A&M, but again, no one knows what Texas A&M is at this point.
Jimbo
But
Fisher should be on the hot seat at this point, if we're
for
honest with
sure,
ourselves.
yeah. And I mean, like their offense looks better, but we'll need to see it against better competition. I don't even know what they've been doing. Have they been on a bye week for like 3 weeks? Like they haven't played a single ACC game yet somehow.
Yeah, I think they're like 1 or 2 games behind their overall from the rest of the division.
Yeah.
Maybe they just had a double bye week. I didn't look at
Yeah,
their schedule.
I don't know.
But
I don't know what's going on because I feel like I haven't seen them in a while. So
We're just
it feels
hanging
like they've
out.
at least had 2 bye weeks, but we'll find out more about them. They're undefeated right now. They have one potentially decent win, so it's worth putting them up here. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I do think they have a lot of upside though. Maybe they're a team that spoils this for Florida State. We'll talk more about Florida State later, but we'll have to see.
Or
Or they
will
could
we?
fall flat like they always do.
Wait.
Next up, the Kentucky Wildcats.
Why didn't you go with the '90s logo?
I thought about it, but honestly, like this is like a recent logo, and they didn't even know it existed.
It's basically Kansas State.
You're right. It kind of is.
It's Kansas State, but they deserve to be in the top 25.
No wonders why they don't use this very often and just stuck with the other one.
I was talking the other day with my family, and I said Kentucky is the Texas of the North. I'm sticking to it. I think that Kentucky can actually go on a run. I don't think they're going to be competing with Georgia at all, but I think they can turn some heads in the SEC East.
Yeah, I mean, again,
I think they can get into the top 10. Honestly,
we'll see. I think they could get in. They could have if they didn't play Georgia so soon. Unfortunately, the Rude Awakening is coming this weekend when they play Georgia. If they had waited until later in the year, they could have gotten into the top 10. But
but I mean, losing to the number 1 team in the nation, it's not like they're going to
not as
fall
bad.
out of the rankings. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
probably going to fall.
But also,
spot.
like, I think the reward is like pretty huge for them too. Not saying that I think they're going to beat Georgia, but if they were to beat Georgia, how big that would be for Kentucky as a program.
Yeah,
I mean, it would
they'll no
involve
longer be
everything.
a basketball school.
I really like Kentucky.
That's why
I'm like so upset that they're 5-0 and they just made it into the top 25 this week.
I don't know how Florida was ahead of them either. That made no sense. But
No.
yeah, like I mean, it would be a huge game changer if they somehow pulled that off. Like Kentucky's all of a sudden a playoff contender for sure because, I mean, again, the rest of their schedule isn't that difficult. The SEC East is not great this year. So
didn't Florida beat Kentucky for like 38 straight years?
Yeah. Actually, I even mentioned.
There's a Bear Bryant.
I think on Twitter, like how funny it is the progression of that rivalry, where Kentucky was just getting blown out for years. Then for like a few years there, Kentucky would have the lead late and always choke it away at the end in hilarious fashion, including one time where they attempted a game-winning field goal with a kicker named Chance Poor. Then they progressed to barely beating Florida, and now they're just crushing them.
Love it.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is a lot of time in Kentucky. We can move on. Oregon State Beavers.
Bucky's.
That is what this reminds me of.
I passed about 1,000 Bucky's this past weekend, and unfortunately, I didn't need gas anytime that I passed one.
But brisket.
DJ Uiagalelei has Oregon State up
3
there.
times fast.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying that again. But I mean, I think they can make a run the Pac-12. I think they're kind of in their range right now. I don't think they're really going to get to the top 10.
Yeah, we'll see. I like a lot about this team, but again, like the Pac-12 is just so loaded. Winning on the road is going to be probably the challenge for them, I think. They got an amazing run game. Their defense is good. Their secondary did get toasted by Washington State a little bit, so we'll see how that is. If anyone else is able to take advantage of that, but there's a lot to like about this team. This team's pretty good, and they'll definitely stick around here for most of the year.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Next up, I mean, it feels weird having them this low, but the Alabama Crimson Tide.
I think it feels nice to have him this low. Their quarterback, everything about all their quarterbacks on their roster sucks. Like they can have the best defense, and they're still probably going to lose 1 or 2 games.
I still think that they're too high.
Yeah,
You got. I know Texas is a good team, but they got beat by Texas, and then they almost got beat by South Florida. That shouldn't have even been a conversation. That's a layup game for them, you know.
Yeah.
For South Florida to give them a run like that, I don't. This is not Nick Saban Alabama that I know.
Yeah, it's a very weird team. The offensive line isn't good.
That's 2 years.
Yeah, the offensive line isn't good. Milrow is an excellent athlete, and at this point, he's the best option because of what an athlete he is. But
as a Notre Dame fan, I can tell you Buckner sucks. Tommy Rees was better as a backup quarterback than he is as a starter or a offense coordinator.
Yeah, Milrow, he's a great athlete, but not a great quarterback. That being said, we'll see if they got some confidence having their usual punching bag game against Mississippi State. So we'll find out if they can improve. I mean, the West is still wide open because, again, the SEC is not as good as usual this year. So, I mean, there's still a scenario where they turn this thing around, beat Georgia in the SEC championship, and make the playoff. Next up, the North Carolina Tar Heels.
North Carolina has not impressed me as much as I thought they would at the beginning of the season. I mean,
I think of the logo.
I mean, yeah, they got some good things going for them, but they got a lot to clean up if they want to continue rising in these polls.
Yeah, no one's talking about it, but Drake May has not actually been as impressive as we thought he would be.
And everyone's still like he's the second best quarterback. I don't know at this point.
I mean, assuming too, like literally has not changed their minds at all. I think they're overlooking it because North Carolina is undefeated. If the shoe drops and they lose, all of a sudden everyone will be like, "Oh yeah, he actually hasn't looked that good." But at the same time, they have. I think where they've impressed me the most though is how they are up front. Like their offensive line is a lot better than it was last year. Defensive line is a lot better than it was last year. That's helped them a lot. They can control games with their run game. But again, I'm curious to see how they compete the rest of the way. They have the upside to win the ACC. They can all completely fall apart and end up unranked.
Yeah.
Wazoo!
Washington State.
They surprised me. I'll be honest with you. When I think of Washington State, I think of either Gardner Minshew or those years that they went 0-12. The fact that they're 12th in our poll did surprise me a little bit, but they're playing pretty good ball right now.
Yeah, I think they're very underrated, and I think even we still have them underrated. They're one of the few teams in the poll that are undefeated and have 2 quality wins, beating Wisconsin and Oregon State. Also, the interesting thing I've noticed is that they have just run teams off the field in the first half, kind of took the foot off the gas in the second half of games, so they might still have more left in the tank than we even know at this point. Cam Ward is tearing it up on offense. That offense is just, the passing game is amazing, and their defense is better than people think. I think if someone upsets the balance between Oregon, Washington, and USC, it's going to be this team. And actually, in all reality, technically, they're the only team that has a conference championship already. They won the Pac-2.
Yeah,
I don't even know what to say to that. They're an interesting team, but their time in the sun is almost up. Like Justin said, they got to go through USC and they got to go through Washington and Oregon, and I personally do not see them getting through those 3 games without losing.
I mean, certainly you think they're going to take 1 loss, but the question is, are they going to lose all 3? Can they even win one of them?
Right.
A 10-win season would be absolutely amazing for this program.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool.
And they'll be the kings of the Mountain West.
They got a tricky test at UCLA this weekend, though, so we'll see. Next up, the Oklahoma Sooners.
Homer Sanders.
Oklahoma, where the wind
Wind
comes rolling down the
plane.
plain. I didn't think that Oklahoma would be anywhere near our poll at the beginning of the season. I
That's
thought they were
easy.
just gonna fall right on their faces and just be unranked for a solid 10 years or so. But they're playing good ball, and Dylan Gabriel until I think last week had like an 80% completion percentage. So he's in the Heisman race. They're looking good, and I don't know. I think they're gonna lose to Texas, but
Yeah.
This week is a
Good.
major show it week for me because honestly, a lot of what they've done early in the season, they've gone up against bad opponents. The
Shut
best
up.
opponent they played so far was UC. So don't worry, Matt. I'm not slighting UC on this. And during that game, UC entered Oklahoma territory 7 times and got 6 points. UC blew that game. So the score did not indicate at all how that game went.
But I mean, that's kind of how Oklahoma's defense has gone all year this year. They're bend not break.
Yeah, we'll see if they break more against Texas. I mean, this is definitely going to decide it. I mean, we'll find out if Oklahoma is a playoff contender. Are they second fiddle behind Texas, or are they just middle of the pack Big 12? We'll learn.
I don't know. I think Oklahoma's an interesting team still, you know. I do think Texas beats them though.
Yeah. Next up, Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. Matt, I'll just let you take this one away.
A few weeks ago, I at the end of the game, I took my hoodie off, I threw it against my window, I turned the TV off, and I threw my remote against the couch, and I walked away, and my wife was like, "What is going on?" I'm sick and tired of Notre Dame not being able to beat Ohio State, but Notre Dame is playing very well. Sam Hartman is the difference maker between this year and last year. Estime was probably in the Heisman race for a little bit, but after the Ohio State game, he kind of just fell off a little bit. So if he gets back on the wagon and gets like another 157-yard game and 2 touchdowns, then he'll be right back in it.
Ohio State fan here. Notre Dame's not out of it. They're still.
I actually had them higher because Ohio State is a very good football team. So.
That is a solid loss, but they're gonna have to climb back in to get there. And I think they could do it. They're a good team.
I mean, they're going to have the opportunity. They're going to have the strength of schedule because they play a lot of tough teams this year. I think the offense kind of needs to work on its consistency a little bit because, like the Duke game, it did not feel like that Duke should have ever led that game. It felt like Notre Dame was dominating, and then all of a sudden, you look up and Duke is in the lead at the end. It was like, what's going on here? But Notre Dame came back, took the win. They could probably stand for a game to be a little bit more calmer. I'm sure, Matt, these crazy endings have been a little bit tough, but overall, this is a really good team. They still have playoff hopes, but it's all about finishing the rest of their season.
Yep.
Next up, the Penn State Nittany Lions.
So surprisingly, I've watched a decent chunk of their games, which I hadn't in years past. But they actually look like a solid football team, and then they go through spurts throughout the game where they just either take their foot way off the gas and slow down, or they just, I don't know what it is, but they haven't been like pedal down the entire game. They've kind of been up and down. If they can stay up, they got greener pastures ahead.
You gotta get through Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah, they're always third place. I argued with someone online who was like, "What? Penn State finished second a couple years ago," and I was like, "I don't care what you have to say."
The position that matters is first, baby. If you ain't first, you're last. That's what matters.
Yeah. I mean, they got an impressive quarterback in Drew Aller. Can he get them past Ohio State and Michigan? That is what we have to see. I mean, so far they have actually a low-key impressive win over West Virginia. West Virginia hasn't lost since then, but we'll see what happens the rest of the year. Next up, Washington Huskies.
Washington.
Washington.
I will be honest with you. Michael Penix Jr. might be No, I don't. I think they may be a couple spots overrated, but I think Michael Penix might be the second best QB to go in the draft next year.
Yeah.
He's so accurate with that deep ball.
Yeah. And those receivers are so good. Like any one of them, they have like 3 or 4 guys that can burn you. It's crazy.
Mm.
Defense
Like a
is
bunch of
still a
John
little
Rosses with hands.
bit their defense
That
is still a
doesn't
little bit
exist.
questionable, but it's definitely improved from last year. I definitely think this team is dangerous, but we'll find out after the bye week because they play number 7, the Oregon Ducks.
Like,
I think this is the best Oregon team since they lost in the national championship to Auburn. Bo Nix is definitely not the player that he was at Auburn. He's way better now. He's figuring stuff out. I think Oregon may be my favorite for college football playoff to come out of the Pac-12.
Yeah, you made some bold declarations, and you might not be wrong. They definitely seem to be the most balanced. They have a great offense. Their defense is also very good. Probably, yeah, the top contenders we're talking about, their defense might be the best of all of them. I definitely agree that this team is dangerous, and they're out for blood too. Like they are blowing teams out early and often. No one's even been close to them at this point.
yeah, there are. I haven't watched too much Oregon, so I really can't speak too much. But they're perennially in the mix.
They
Yeah.
Nike bought them out.
Yeah.
They're
Next
buying out the
up,
polls.
Next up, the USC Trojans. And I'll be honest, guys, this is the typical Lincoln Riley team. Caleb Williams is awesome. We know that. Obviously, could be a 2-time Heisman winner. We'll see. Amazing receivers all over. Just so much talent. And I mean, their offense is just overwhelming early in games. Defenses are kind of chasing around trying to figure out what to do. But if you can hang in there, you can get them because eventually defense settles down. Your offense is going to start torching their terrible defense,
We
and you
got
can
5
come back and
minutes, so
beat
we
them.
gotta.
Yeah, we got to hurry this up, but yeah,
USC seems like they're not trying hard at times, and they're still just blowing people out. So they're USC. Caleb Williams is gonna win the Heisman. It's fun.
Number 1 overall pick. I think they're great.
Next up, Florida State. They're undefeated so far. They're back in it, but the question is, Clemson and LSU, are they disappointing teams? So, I mean, but then again, Florida State doesn't have a lot of tests left. So
Jordan Travis played really hard against Notre Dame a handful of years ago, and I said back then that he was gonna end up being a great quarterback. He's the reason why they're number 5. It's gonna be up to him to make sure they stay there.
I don't think that I just don't know if they have what it takes to get to the end of the season without losing at least one game. I like Jordan Travis. They're like the underdog story right now, but not impressed.
they came close to losing to Boston College. That's a little bit scary.
Well, can I start with this one?
Yep.
God,
The Ohio
Take
State
it away.
Buckeyes.
keep it short. We got 3
Started rough.
minutes.
Yeah, you're good. Started rough. Was trying to get this offense together. I think they're finally starting to put it together. They got a big win against Notre Dame going into their bye. Coming off, we're going to play Notre Dame I'm sorry, playing Maryland off the bye, and I think that's going to be huge for this team.
They have the best
Yeah.
receiving core in the nation.
Yeah.
It's up to McCord to keep stepping up. If he plays like he did at the end of that Notre Dame game, then they very well be back to beating Michigan at the end of the year. That's the only game that counts.
Yes, I agree. And I very much like Ryan Day, this new feisty Ryan Day. But you're tired of people questioning your toughness. Now it's time to do it on the field. On 3rd and 4th and 1, just shove it up the middle and get that first down. Stop with the wide receiver end around, please.
Play calling. Really, really sick and tired of it.
We could go all day. We gotta hurry here. Is Texas back?
I think so. They have 3 really good quarterbacks. One that's not even playing. Quinn Ewers is in the conversation for that second best quarterback for next year's draft.
They have the most impressive win on the season, winning at Alabama. And the schedule the rest of the way, I mean, it is tricky. Every team in the Big 12 is tough, but at the same time, there's no excuse for Texas to not make the playoff.
Right.
Michigan, there's not really a whole lot to say about them because their schedule has been incredibly easy. They're up here because of the track record. They made the playoff the last 2 years. Only one other team can say that. Their season begins November 11th, so we can talk about them then.
Yep.
Yeah, it comes out to them in Ohio State,
Yeah.
And then
And Georgia hasn't given anyone any reason to not be number one.
yeah, they have to be number one.
I mean, yeah, they won back-to-back national titles. They have to be number one.
They're playing pretty well
lose.
too.
Yeah.
Actually, they're not. That's the one shit. That's the one thing. That's why some people are starting to doubt them. I mean, they kept it close to Auburn. Honestly, I think Georgia was just messing around. They're like, all right, now the game's tied at the end. Time to throw it to Brock Bowers and win the game. But they keep messing around with their opponents this year. But we'll see. I think against Kentucky is probably when they're going to eventually just turn it on and start winning by a lot.
We're not.
Well, that is the show. There is our graphic. Like, subscribe, tell a friend, comment, share it, get us out there.
Close.
So, yeah, we are trying to quit our day jobs and do this for real. Yeah. You guys got anything?
No, that's all. It was fun putting this together. We'll get the next top 25 out at next month. Kind of let another month of play come out before we rank them again.
All right. See you guys.
Go Bucks.
That was good.
Yeah. Very nice. Good stuff.
Time to hop on to another call.
Have fun.
Top 10 biscuits.
How many top 10 biscuits do we get this time?
Blueberry biscuits from Bojangles.
Is that the number one?
It's top dog.
I cannot believe you did not get
it.
it.
Real close. Popeyes.
Why is Outlook opening? What is going on?
Oh, no!
Outlook is